The Secrets of Stargate is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, episode 36.
Janet West, Jackson has identified the seventh symbol.
All right, here we go. We are about to try to make a connection.
All we gotta do is bust out of here, commandeer the ship, and fly on home.
Indeed. You say that a lot.
I know that this could be dangerous. But this is our job, right? It's what we signed on to do.
It was never about going home. It's about getting us to where we're going.
Hello and welcome to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies and TV series, including SG-1, Atlantis, Universe, and more. I'm Father Cory Stika, taking over from Jack Barazini this week. Fortunately, Lisa Jones and Victor Lambs are here. Howdy, Lisa.
Hey, Father Cory.
Howdy, Victor.
Hi, Father Cory.
Today we're discussing A Matter of Time, the 16th episode from the second season of Stargate SG-1. Now, normally I would send over to Victor for a summary, but he's got a guest to help us with the summary, so I'll let you introduce him, Victor.
Yeah, this is our son, Ben. He's a lifelong Stargate fan, I'd say, and definitely he's been helping me on our Stargate game that we've been working on, and this is one of his favorite episodes. So, Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about the episode?
As the episode starts, we see SG-10 running across a desert planet from something. They dialed a gate to the SGC. Now, the SGC received a strange signal. They try speeding it up a little, then a little more until they find it's SG-10's iris code. They open the iris, then in a little bit, the gate closes. The SGC decides to send a probe.
And after that point, SG-10 is... But then SGC has the bigger problems, though, as the gate, when they dial back, won't disengage. Gravity waves coming through the gate is keeping the gate open. And even worse, the Stargate itself is acting as a lens, which is spreading intense gravity outwards from the Stargate and slowing down time within the SGC. And then Pentagon actually sends a commando team into the SGC, don't they?
Yes.
And the guy there, Colonel Cromwell, he and Jack have a little bit of a history, right?
Yeah, not the best history. History.
No. Jack doesn't like him because Colonel Cromwell left him behind in Iraq.
Yeah.
He spent 4 months in prison. And but along with the commando team that they send in, they also send in a team to retrieve General Hammond, and they take General Hammond back to Washington, D.C., where they tell him how they think the Stargate can be shut down, and so the Earth doesn't get sucked into this gravity well. And what is the Pentagon propose doing?
They proposed blowing up the SGC.
With the self-destruct.
Which will likely not work.
No, the Stargate could stay open because it's the gravity waves that are keeping the Stargate open.
Basically shield all around Stargate.
So they leave Jack and Colonel Cromwell behind to blow up the base. Sam and everybody else evacuates. And when they're on the surface, Sam discovers that everything she knew about relativity is wrong and decides that maybe they can get the gate to the connection to jump to another Stargate like they did when they were trying to dial Earth that one time and wound up in Antarctica.
Yep.
And what do they need to do that?
They'll need a giant energy surge.
What do they propose using for that?
They use a bomb and focus the energy at the gate.
So they all go down and they set up the bomb. And who do they leave behind to activate the bomb?
Jack.
And his friend, Colonel Cromwell, his frenemy there. So eventually they get in place. Unfortunately, a shard of broken glass breaks Cromwell's line, and he sacrifices himself to save Jack, save the mission, thus redeeming himself in Jack's eyes. And Jack wakes up in sickbay and finds that 2 weeks have passed.
Yep.
Did you like this episode, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good story.
I like space.
You like space? I like space too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do too. That's why we talk about it.
And did they dial the Abydos address at all in this one? I don't think they do.
Yeah, no.
No.
So you're expert on the Abydos address, huh? That recognize when it shows up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And you've been playing
Good.
lots of Stargate Minecraft and stuff, so you recognize all those different addresses.
Except I can't
Cool.
play Stargate Network.
Oh, Stargate Network, they've taken down their servers, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you for that
Thank you.
that summary. You did a great job.
Thanks. We'll let you run along to bed now, as it's getting kind of late.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, Ben.
Bye. He's so cute.
We'll have to make sure to have him on more often.
Yeah, definitely is a little starstruck, I think.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. He did a good job. He did a good job. So
Really
that
pays
was
attention.
so.
Yeah.
So not just do we get his help on the summary, but we also got what he thought of the episode. What do you think there, Victor?
It's one of my favorites, and I don't know. I haven't checked where it ranks in terms of everybody else's. How it's ranked by the viewers, but I really like this one. I think when I was watching the show initially, this is one that kind of grabbed my attention. It's, at the time I would have thought it was like, hard science fiction, but also has a really good story. There's, good interpersonal dynamics and some fun things they do with the time dilation elements.
And how about you, Lisa?
It's also a really good one for me. You got technobabble, you've got ticking time bomb scenario, you've got teamwork, and you get backstory. So what's not to like?
Exactly. No, I agree with you both. I mean, this is kind of one of the fun ones, and we'll talk a little bit about the science or lack thereof, but some of the science is pretty good. But yeah, it's an enjoyable episode. Of course, you do have the ticking clock. You've got the concerns about relativity, where 5 minutes pass down in SGC, and you've got hours up top and things like that. So it's a good one. It's a well-paced episode too. I think that's a big part of it. It's not one of those episodes that it either drags, pun intended, or not. But it's a good one. So the one thing. Oh, sorry.
I was saying, it's one that they kind of refer back to for several more times in different other years, which is, I love to see that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I hadn't looked either to see where it ranks, but I get a feeling it's pretty high up on most fan lists. So,
yeah.
Now I get a kick out of, like, right off the bat, they do a refresher on what a wormhole is, and they use Jack as kind of the dunce in this. Now, remind me again, these wormholes we go through, they're not always there, right?
And are there worms in them? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's this worm thing?
Yeah. So I don't know if they intended this to be kind of a standalone episode for any reason. They needed to establish that for people who may have been new to the show. But, I think that was kind of a little forced, but I think it's overlookable.
It was kind of nice as like an intro to the episode, because you get Jack, be like, I don't really understand all this stuff. And you get Carter launching into her, very detailed, over the top, and he just glazes. Yeah. And I think that's kind of how the entire episode goes. Because every time she gets all excited, and, like towards the end when she's asking Teal, what do you know about? And he's like, nothing. And then she again launches into her technobabble, and his eyes glaze over. And so I love that aspect of the show.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this until I watched Dr. Becky Smethurst's video, an astrophysicist reviews Stargate, which is a really good video. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But they do a lot of like, shut up, Wesley, to Sam in this episode. Like, and I didn't realize that until I watched like her analysis of it on YouTube. But I guess it happens a lot, like in Stargate in general, where she starts to go into the science of something. And clearly the writers have like kind of run out of science, in terms of what they're writing. And so one of the other characters has to cut her off. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually just watched that episode before this, and she got a little. She just, to answer your question, if you don't want to hear the answer, don't ask the question.
Yeah,
and there's a couple of times where, to be fair, this is one of the maybe minor complaints I have with how Jack is played in a lot of these type of episodes. He's scientifically savvy. He does astronomy. I mean, he knows what a black hole is and what a black hole does. So it's not like he should be completely a dunce with a lot of these things, you know, but then they play him like that because he's got to be the comic relief. He's got to be the character who speaks for those of us who aren't quite as scientifically savvy, you know. And I wish they wouldn't do that, because there are times in this same episode where he's like, well, I don't get this, but oh yeah, it's a black hole and it does this, and this.
Right.
And it's a very Midwestern trait too, to like appear like more stupid than you really are, just to, you know, either have people underestimate you or learn more about them. And so that's being from Chicago and with that affinity for Minnesota that he has, you know, I can see that being part of his character as well.
Yeah, well, it's not just a Midwestern trait. I think people can use that too, for good or ill. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, so they get this signal, and one thing I liked that they did was they slowed down the modem tone. You know, when they received the signal, you know, you heard it was just those pulses, but then they speed it up, and of course it's a modem tone. I mean, anybody who was a child of the 80s and 90s that had to dial into the internet knows that sound. Exactly. We've heard that sound, you know.
And you also know the sound of your parents picking up the phone at 2 a.m. and so
yeah.
Are you on the computer? Go to bed. Yeah. You don't get that anymore with Wi-Fi, but
no.
That's not true. You can get devices that shut off your Wi-Fi at a certain time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In your house.
Yeah. A lot of your routers now, your Wi-Fi routers have where you can set limits and things like that.
You can ask
not just the limits.
It's just not the same as hearing your parents like pick up the phone handset like in the other room, and you're like, oh crap, I have to reconnect. Oh crud.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it's you know, it's just there's certain things like that they did well. You know, as far as, you know, that from the outside looking in, you know, they would be slower. The audio would be slower. Although one thing Dr. Becky mentions is, you know, when you're talking about red shifting, it doesn't mean that the signal from the camera is going to turn red. It just means you're going to receive it at, let's say, 1 baud instead of 1200 baud.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to slow down the bits coming in, but it's still going to be, and they fix that very quickly.
Yeah.
By doing the computer, you know, auto photoshopping or whatever.
Yeah. And I think it's a testament to how good like this episode is that like my nitpicks were like getting very nitpicky, I would say. Like when they pan up the camera, I was like, wouldn't it take a lot longer for them to send the signal to the camera and the camera to start to pan up? And then later on when they have a timer attached to the bomb device, and I was like, wait a minute, part of that timer is further away from the, you know, the wormhole than the rest of it, and that would affect the timing of the integrated circuits within there, and the whole timer would, you know, but literally that's like how nitpicky I had to get.
This is my nitpick. Yeah. This touches on my nitpick of this episode is they switch over at one point from external power to try to shut down the Stargate. How is that external power getting down there? Because the electrons traveling through the wire are going to be slowing down. And if it's already affecting the signal, you know, it's just like and then their computers they've got up in the tent above Cheyenne Mountain are connected to the computers down in SGC that are being affected by time dilation. So I agree with you that by and large, this is a great episode, but there's just these stupid little nitpicks of, okay, at best, that computer is getting 1 bit a second at best.
Yeah. Well, then you run into like the Zeno's paradox thing where if General Hammond's going down the elevator, does he ever arrive type thing? But, you know, time isn't moving that slowly, but
no.
It's pretty good though for an episode to be this technically detailed, and that's all you can come up with. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and they definitely, and this is going back to that video from Dr. Becky. She makes a lot of amazing points on this, and she points out when, this science is solid. This science is good. I might not agree with exactly how they put that, but yeah, this is good. You know, she does a lot of that. But, you know, she points out it also, the time dilation allows for a great plot device of they just spent 18 hours up here and it was like 5 minutes down here.
Yeah. He can fly to DC and back, and they thought he was on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of feels like working from home. You go into your home office and you come out and like the house has been completely rearranged, or, you know, All the Christmas decorations are up. But what I
wait a minute, another family moved in.
Yeah,
wait, what?
Exactly. But no, I did like on that video, at least a couple times, Dr. Becky says, like, that's not how things work. And then Sam, like a few minutes later or a minute later, will say, that's not how things work. Like, you know. So I think 21 years in, which is, I think, the difference between when this episode was made and when that video was made, that's pretty good. Like, to get the physics, you know, right enough that they stand, you know, as fast as, I don't know how fast physics theory is moving. But in 21 years, I mean, I hope that our understanding of physics is, 20 years is, you know.
23 years. I mean, almost exactly from when we're recording it. I mean, it's 23 years ago that it aired. So, I mean, it's that's pretty impressive when, there has been a lot of advancements even in that almost, you know, half a or quarter of a century in our understanding of astrophysics and stuff, just from experiments and so on.
Yeah. And if anyone is listening to this, like, you know, 20 years in the future, we're sorry, we don't know about the Musk differential yet. You know, he hasn't discovered that and launched his spaceships to Mars using that or anything yet.
And you know, the Bill Gates time travel paradox, you know, that one was the worst.
Yeah, that really was.
Or will be the worst.
And the Bezos rules of acquisition just ruined everything.
Oh, well, we know about those already.
Yeah, we
do. Well, one thing that was kind of fun is Dan Shea got to be a stuntman for himself.
Yes, he did.
Big ol' wrench.
Yeah. I'm gonna attack the power supply with a big steel wrench.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Good on you. Yeah.
He was fairly prominent in this episode. It was kind of impressive, but it's just as soon as I see him go flying across the room, it's like, well, at least he's not doing for Richard Dean Anderson this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that basically an inside joke?
Yeah.
He's injured in every episode that he's in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one way or the other.
He gets injured, and they give him lots of lines or lots of words that start with S because of his, you know, he pronounces it like this and stuff. So they would intentionally give him S words in his script, you know.
Well,
no.
I mean, they even made his name Sergeant Schuyler.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Sergeant Schuyler.
And we were missing Walter again. This was another Graham episode.
Yeah. Graham called Sam like Captain or something, right? Or Sir, right? She didn't call her like Sam or Sammykins or anything. So
yeah, apparently no relationship there.
Yeah.
Contrary to his desire. Yeah.
He took off the rose-colored glasses.
The whole having 106-degree fever like changes a person. Like, you see things with more clarity than you did.
I finally realized why he looks familiar. The actor who plays Graham. He was Zach Adama on Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, okay.
Was he really?
Yeah. Oh, in flashbacks, right? Because he
was dead before the series started. Yeah. I didn't recognize that. That's funny.
I didn't either. I was thinking, man. So I looked him up, and I was, yep, sure enough, that's why he looks familiar. But no, I miss Walter.
Yeah. We do get to see Major Davis for the first time in this episode too. He's a very recurring character. One of the skeevy colonels in the Air Force, apparently, or majors, I guess.
Yeah. He's actually a good character.
Yeah.
We actually like him.
Yeah. And
so
I don't know how many episodes he's in, but I feel like we see a lot of him over the years.
I think eventually we see a lot more of him. Of course, like you said, this is, you know, first introduction, but we definitely do see a lot more of him. And another character we get introduced to and get to see his first and only journey through the Stargate is Cromwell, Colonel Cromwell.
That's right.
And he was played by Marshall Teague, who, interestingly, we just recently on Secrets of Star Trek talked about the Deep Space Nine episode Hippocratic Oath, and he played one of the Jem'Hadar on that.
Oh, yeah.
So of course he was under all full makeup on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just I saw his name. Marshall Teague is the name of the actor, and it's just like, wait, where did I just see that name?
Yeah.
I just saw that not that long ago. Actually, yeah. By the time this come out, that episode will have come out as well. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny to see those connections where you see actors in different places and
yeah,
things like
and
that.
on Voyager as well. It's yeah, watching a lot of like Star Trek and Stargate at the same time, you do see the same names popping up. Apparently, he was on A-Team, Sliders, Knight Rider, so he's made the rounds, paid his dues. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looks like your typical. Let's put it this way: they cast him well for this episode. You know, kind of a grunt.
He was a
big tough guy,
an armed soldier on Babylon 5. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Got the whole full house there of Star Trek appearances.
Yeah. Well, now of course, this where we mentioned there's sci-fi is usually a pretty small world when it comes to casting, and then especially sci-fi based in Vancouver, British Columbia is an even smaller world.
Right.
A lot of these guys show up in different places.
A lot of repeats. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And he was in Roadhouse. There you go.
Oh, nice.
Didn't we tell he was in Roadhouse?
Yeah.
Well, and
So-
big missing in this episode was Michael Shanks. Daniel
Yes.
Jackson. He was only in the very last scene.
Yeah.
I couldn't find where he was doing something, or he was maybe because the next episode he's so heavy. I don't know.
Now, wasn't this about the time when they would have recorded this when he was having a kid? His then wife was having a kid?
Mhm. I mean, it was.
Because wasn't there another
yeah.
episode where we talked about that
She
recently?
actually had the baby recently. That's right.
Yeah, that's okay. So, Michael Shanks and Shore's daughter, Tatiana Shanks, was born during the filming of the episode Touchstone, which was just 2 episodes ago in
recent.
broadcast order. So, this was probably he was on
Maybe got some time
parental
off.
leave
Yeah.
and just came in for the end so he could get credit for being in the episode.
Right. I think I read season 2 is the only season where the 4 major characters are in every single episode.
Oh.
Make an appearance in every episode, which I hadn't. Now I'm going to pay more attention to that.
Yeah.
That's not that uncommon, actually. It's pretty common that, in a series like this, that there will be episodes that are 1 or 2 characters light, and we talk about in Doctor Who, where there are doctorless episodes. Well, those are episodes where the main character isn't in because he's on, that's his time off or whatever, his or her time off. So that's not that uncommon to see.
Right.
And that was totally the Star Trek way of getting everybody in. Again, is like the character wakes up in sick bay and like all the other like characters from the cast are around him when they've been out the entire episode. It's like, oh, Captain Picard, you're back from the flute planet or whatever, we're all here.
Yeah, exactly.
And he wouldn't have had much to do in this episode anyway. So it's kind of like he wasn't really missed, in my opinion, in this particular context.
I was going to say that sometimes we talk about how certain characters have nothing to do. They're just, and so if he had been here, not much to contribute there.
Really didn't have a lot to do either.
Yeah.
I mean, he carried the bomb down, and he was there to say that he didn't understand, some quantum physics.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he really didn't have a lot to do this one. This was definitely a Jack and Sam episode.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like we got a little more Hammond too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that was nice.
Hammond had an important role.
And Colonel Cromwell and the funky Air Force guard, or the guard who said that the transmission sounded funky.
Yeah.
Like
random Air Force, airman, or I think it was I think it was an airman, a senior airman. Random senior airman just kind of standing there, It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like how the air shaft or whatever, you just open it up and then.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is top secret, highly secured environment that you can just rappel down an air shaft to get into.
And they it's like at the top of a grain silo. They just put in a field for that.
I mean, obviously they had the bottom of it locked so you couldn't just get in, but that didn't take much to fix either with a simple cutting torch. So
that was good.
But let's see here. What other?
We got a little more Jack being in the Iraqi prison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We heard more about that. The reason why Cromwell, he has an issue with Cromwell is because Cromwell left him when he got wounded.
Yeah.
And he ended up in the prison for 4 months.
We heard about it. I don't remember what episode it was. We heard about it, but we didn't get the details.
Right. Now we got a little more details that that he was injured, and Cromwell just left him instead of taking him with.
But he was, I mean, I don't want to say only in prison for 4 months, but I don't know if that's like a typical, like, so somebody did come back from him eventually, or he was traded or something. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't remember. Do they ever explain how he ended up getting out of it?
I don't remember. I want to say yes, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember if they've ever said that he, eventually how he got out of it, because most of the time when you hear of a POW type situation, it's for years, not
4 months,
not months. Yeah.
Well, if he had a dental mirror, a stick of chewing gum, a propane tank, and a bungee cord, it would have been easy. Yeah.
Yeah, just look at Antarctica, the outtake with Sam Carter. I'm trapped with MacGyver, for crying out loud. If you haven't seen that video, it's absolutely hilarious. Supposedly Amanda Tapping thought she was gonna get fired after that, because of course Richard Dean Anderson was basically the showrunner in all but name. I mean, he was the big man on campus, and she's basically making fun of him right there on set.
Yeah, early on too.
Early on,
working together that long.
First season, barely, one of the first few episodes.
You have to wonder if like the producers were like, when they're going around to like all the cast members like before the show aired, and be like, I know he was big on MacGyver, but he really does not like anyone to bring it up. So like, don't bring up MacGyver. Like, talk about anything else, just not MacGyver. But
yeah, and he's a very private individual. I mean, you see online that even today that he doesn't, I mean, he'll go do conventions or whatever, but not to the level of some other people. But like there's, the Richard Dean Anderson official fan site, and he has nothing to do with it. He like texts the person who actually runs the website, basically. So very, very private individual. And I'm sure he probably wasn't too happy about stuff like that happening that often, but you never know. I mean, I know that they also get to be friends sometimes in these shows. So,
right. They always seem to have good chemistry and camaraderie. So,
yeah, exactly.
Let's see. General Hammond makes a Hobbit reference when he goes to Washington. He comes back and they're like, you were in Washington. He's like, there and back again. So I was like, I'll take it.
I love the stock footage of the United States aircraft taking off, clearly stock footage, and because it's different quality and everything, how that goes. But
we didn't see anyone go through the gate in this episode.
Wow, you're right.
Well, we did, but he kind of fell through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with the time dilation stuff, are they still there? Have they been sucked into the black hole? Like, how long would it take? So could there be because I know there's been 2, I think, books written about SG-1 going and rescuing SG-10. So.
Well, that's one thing, again, Dr. Becky mentions is that it takes a long time to fall into a black hole. But she also mentions, and she gets such a kick out of this word, spaghettification.
Yeah.
That as you approach a black hole, you get stretched out like spaghetti.
Yeah, I noticed that in her video too. It's always fun till it happens to you, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like, out of respect for SG-10, that was Henry Boyd's team. Jack put him up for that mission.
And it was
exactly.
And I did notice it's like one of the few that we see, anyways, like co-ed SG teams. And then, and then he's like keeps referring to like those men. I was like, clearly, like one of them was not. But
now Victor, it's the 21st century.
But it wasn't when this was made.
But yeah, I would think, depending, I mean, how long a long time is, the planet and everything is still there, just very stretched out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yeah, because to them, it'd be just a matter of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of interesting. That, and you can tell that the way they kind of got around some of the science issues of from this side of the opposite Stargate. Mm-hmm. So from the actual wormhole side of the opposite Stargate inward is all one time. From the Stargate, the other direction is another time.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually that starts creeping in. And that's how a Stargate could get established that way and then drop, because it dropped quickly. And Sam said that it was like, it would have been, the Stargate was only open for about a second for them.
Right.
That's how they weren't able to get out. So they kind of answered some of those questions of how could, the gate be established and be able to connect, and they could send the MALP through, but it didn't work the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the first time I like put this together, but maybe it's more clear in the dialogue than I remember it being. But, we start with a really good CGI scene, which is kind of like the Next Generation intro going horribly wrong, where like we pan over planets and then all of a sudden like this black hole appears and starts like sucking in everything. And I had always, like, in my mind, I had always been like, they'd gated to a planet that was like near a black hole and it was already happening. But it's more clear that it's like they gated to this planet where we're like, and all of a sudden, like, and this black hole appears and everything is getting sucked in, which is like rotten timing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thinking back, I always thought that they'd gated to a planet that had a black hole. I guess I didn't realize or remember that the first scene showing the black hole forming.
Right.
So that was it was different.
Well, and it makes you wonder, with the fact that it was a binary star system, that there, they went there and they said, well, that all life on that planet had been relatively recently wiped out. Well, maybe the fact that you've got a planet that's coming that close to a second star, even before it's a black hole, might be the cause of this.
Maybe.
I did laugh though. I wrote down they blew their entire CGI budget on that opening though.
They did.
That was it. Yeah.
Well, then
no more CGI money left.
Then at the end where they're hanging and the bomb and everything and the event horizon below them, that was the best.
Yeah, there was some good practical effects there. Like when they first like leave the control room, you can tell that they're like on lines that are horizontal, parallel to the floor, and they're being supported from the top. And then after that, they switch to lines that are vertically supported, and everything is turned 90 degrees, like Batman and Robin climbing up the side of the building and getting the cameos with the famous people. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool that they made that transition.
Yeah. Well, you could tell that the gate and everything was green screen below them as they were going down. But that effect of the swirl in the wormhole was pretty sweet. I mean, that looked really cool, where it was it was sitting there swirling like water that you had just stirred.
Yeah, going like from the back of the gate and stuff. And then of course they lose the iris in this one, and then this is where they get the cool trinium reinforced iris. So apparently they got enough out of the creeks or whatever on the Spirit planet that they're able to make one.
Or they made an agreement with them eventually anyways. But yeah.
Yeah, and we mentioned Siler in this one. I just wanted to note that, like, he is back to work. Like, granted, time is passing more slowly on this, or quickly or whatever on the surface, so he's healing faster. But like, he is back in that control room, like lowering that bomb into place, like after being electrocuted and like blunt force
thrown across the room,
trauma to the head and stuff. He's just like, and another day's work for Sergeant Siler. So,
yep,
he's tough.
Yeah.
Well, we should and mention too that we find out at the end that from the day before when Jack showed up for work was 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks this all had taken. Now we don't know how long Jack himself was unconscious, although we can assume that was relatively quick. Relatively speaking. But of course, we have the bomb doing the gate shifting again. Causing the gate to jump somewhere else. And
okay,
and then
so. The gate shifts somewhere else. So does that mean they just doomed another planet?
No, because
it was the opposite end jumped.
Okay.
It was an outgoing wormhole.
Yeah.
So it goes to another planet and they're like, yeah, we don't care about that planet, turn off. Yeah. But yeah, no, that did occur to me too.
Like, oh, no. I was like, maybe that's where the Furlies went.
Yeah.
They like
Or Tuplo's waiting on the planet of light, and it's like, oh, more visitors to my wonderful planet, and it's like this. Oh no,
slurp.
Yeah. Poor Tuplo.
No, other way.
Yeah.
You jump the other way.
Good. I thought
Because remember when they
about the morality of this for a second.
Yeah, it's like, who do we really not like? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yay,
Start the dialing for Apatha's ship. Yeah.
Those people with the touchstone, they were kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Let's see how they like this
Barkley
weather.
needs a visitor.
Yeah, exactly. My flowers.
Oh.
Okay, good.
So on that note, anything else
Oh my gosh.
talk about? You want to mention?
They don't get much time together, but Jack and Cromwell, I really liked their scenes. You know, and maybe it's a cliche, maybe it's not, but like the guy who can't forgive, you know, the guy who left him behind, and then the guy who left him behind pointing out, it's like, what about those people? You can't save them, you know. I thought that was particularly poignant. And then ultimately Jack is forced to leave Cromwell behind because there's nothing he can do for him, you know, at that point. And so I thought it was a really nice, and I don't know how much that was in the original story by the story author, or how much that was added by Brad Wright when he wrote the teleplay. But I thought that gives a lot of really good context. We haven't seen that much depth in Jack's character since maybe the first episode where he's, you know, or where he's coming to terms and maybe the cold Lazarus with Charlie's death and stuff. But so I thought that part was really nice. And considering it takes up just like the smallest fraction of the episode, it's played really effectively for the amount of screen time that it takes up.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
How about you, Lisa? Anything more?
No. Okay, I have to say, I was really kind of nervous going into this with y'all because, you know, y'all are way more science geeky than I am, and I was a little nervous because, you know, it was all good to me. And
No,
no, it was wrong, and this and that, and I'm like.
Well, I mean, I enjoy the science, but I'm not a science expert by any stretch. That's where I enjoy like that Dr. Becky episode. We'll make sure that it gets put in the show notes where you can go, or you can look for her. Just, you know, search for Dr. Becky Stargate, and you'll find it pretty quick. And she's not a Stargate fan at all. I mean, she said that's like the first episode she'd ever seen, and she really enjoyed it. So
I did watch the first few minutes of her video on YouTube because it kept coming up on Twitter for me. So, but I didn't get a chance to finish it, so I'll have to go back and watch it now.
It's a good series. She's kind of fun to watch, and her reactions are pretty interesting. And she calls a few things out that they need to be called out. Something about, you know, like all the United States Army people, which by the way they were Air Force Special Forces. Let's be honest, there was no Army was involved in the filming of this episode. Thanks be to God.
Yeah. We get a lot more hut as they go down the lines and stuff. But no, I don't know if the science in this episode holds up. I mean, it was cool to see Sam doing her sciencey thing, which she does a lot more of later in the show. But this is really her first when she's like standing in front of like the blackboard for large chunks of the episode. But as long as the science is consistent with the rules of the show as they've been set up, and this one was, it's like, why is the gate still open? Doesn't it shut off after 38 minutes? Well, you know, the gravity, time dilation, blah, blah, blah. You know, they have explanations that work in universe for everything. So I don't know or care about the science as long as it's, you know, plausible within the world and the rules that they've set up.
Oh,
yeah.
By the way, speaking of the time window, this is the first time that's mentioned in, you could call it the Prime universe.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, because the first time we hear it is in the mirror universe where Daniel goes.
Oh, that's right.
At the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that we hear that there's a time limit, the 38-minute time limit. And this is the first time in Prime universe that we hear that. So that's a and it's just kind of thrown out there. It's like, oh yeah, we know this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's old hat. We're aware of this. And I'm sure Daniel told. Oh, by the way, no.
like they wouldn't have tried to keep the gate open for as long as they possibly could. It's like first thing you do is like, well, how long does it stay open? Okay, 38 minutes. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, how long do we have before we better make sure we're in there?
Yeah.
Instead of the quick one. So, well, very good. At this time, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who made it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including SB Writing Services, Barbara G., Kimberly W., Frank R., and Michelle D. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or the StarQuest YouTube channel at sqpn.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. You can also join the StarQuest fan club mailing list by texting StarQuest to 66866. Send StarQuest to 66866. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1 Holiday. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Father Cory.
And Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Father Cory. And what exactly does funky mean, Sergeant?
And once again, I'm Father Cory Stika. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate at StarQuest. And remember, relativity gives me a headache.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?